Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode. And this week it's going to be based around bunkers. Firstly, a very important tip is the fact that most people do this stabbing motion trying to dig it out of the bunker, and this is not necessarily, in fact it's the exact opposite of what you want to try and do. So you want to be nice and relaxed. So it is no coincidence that if you look at the very best bunker players in the world and that have ever been, you're looking at someone like Gary Player, you're looking at someone like Ernie Els, and look at those guys, they've got beautiful slow tempoed swings. And so what we're going to do is try and think of that. Think of Ernie Els or Freddie Couples when we're getting out of a bunker. Always make sure that the club face is square to the target. If you want to open it up, that's fine, but then we need to open up our shoulders and our feet, because if that is not pointing at the target, it will not go at the target. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that our club face is square to the target. We're going to set it up. Now you can have it at various ball positions, but I like it just inside the heel. You can look at that pretty much. So just inside the left heel there. We're going to keep everything nice and relaxed as much as we possibly can. We're just going to swing this as long and slow as we can, because the actual sand itself and the way we attack this shot does mean we have to give it a little bit more effort. So obviously for a chip shot from here to that pin there, I would probably go, and that would be enough. Whereas a bunker shot, I'm going to go back nice and long and swing it through. Okay, and we're going to aim about an inch behind the ball. And so let's start off with this one. It's going to be nice and slow, nice and rhythmical. We'll have no worries at all to this one, because it's going to pop out. Okay, try not to panic. We're going to try our very best to try and just swing it nice and long and smooth through the ball. No jerking. So we'll do one more of those. I'm just going to go nice and smooth. We can do like a little, do one of those just to get the feel of where it is. And you'll do a lot of this on the practice bunker if you can, or maybe if you go out with your buddies and you hit a bad bunker shot, go back in there and hit another one. Just get used to swinging it to a nice way on the way back and nice on the way through, because the only way of actually controlling the club head is to feel that nice rhythm each time. So let's do another one. About an inch behind the ball, and it's going to smooth back here and through to there. Okay, simple as those are nice and close. So we do one more, because you see a lot of people really jerking at these, and they often don't do it with their chip shots. They get in a bunker and they get a bit tense and they think they've got to kind of dig it out or put some sort of strange digging motion into it. You really don't. We're just taking it out again nice and smooth. Think about where the club head is aiming. We're going to hit about an inch behind the ball. And the reason for swinging back nice as well is that weight of that club head is just going to swing it through nice underneath. So sometimes we get stuck on this uphill slope, and sometimes it does plug, to be honest, but we're just going to deal with it as it's kind of just rolled in and stopped on its way down. A lot of amateurs I see, when they go into a shot like this, they set up like this and their shoulders are pitching straight against this slope. We've got to be aware of that because it makes the strike a very difficult strike to hit. Because we're going in against that slope, and if you hit it a little bit too far behind the ball's just not going to come out. It's very hard to follow through, and it makes it a much more difficult shot. For you guys, I recommend that you try and, when you get in, you're going to try and put your weight, it's mainly going to be on this foot, and our shoulders are going to be as level a pitch as we can to this slope that's sloping up here. Now, one thing I would say is we're going to do everything else the same, but we are going to hit it or swing a little bit harder because it does take a lot of pace out of it when it goes up in the air, because this one's going to go quite high. So we need a little bit more welly on it. as we say. Okay, so this time we're going to try and pitch our shoulders the same. Okay, and we're just going to swing through it just the same, and it will pop up in the air. Nice and smooth again, no panicking. Okay, so it's just going to go up, it'll land very softly, but it's definitely going to come out again. Same kind of swing, no panicking. You don't have to absolutely blast it, just give it about another 20% of what you normally would, because it's going to carry that much in the air. So that's a good one. Okay, so here we have it. We've had the our shot come into one of these bunkers, and it's plugged. Okay, it's a pretty nasty lie. With our wedges these days, this is a 60-degree wedge, but it could be a 58 or 56 even. There's often quite a lot of bounce. There's a lot more bounce than they ever used to have, and people are loving having huge bounces on the bottom of their clubs. Now that's quite nice when you've got the perfect sand in your bunker and you're lying perfectly, that's superb. But it's the exact opposite of what we want if we're in like a poached egg or a plugged lie as we've got here. So the most important thing with these shots really is to not have that bounce at all, because we want to cut into the sand. And as you can see here, so the main thing with this ball is what we're going to do is we're going to cut into the sand about an inch behind the ball, and because of that front lip of the plug, that is going to actually bounce the ball up in the air. We're not going to bump it out like we would a normal sand shot, and use the bounce at the bottom for our club to kind of not dig into the sand and just take a nice smooth puff of sand. Here we're trying to actually cut into the sand to try and help lift that ball out of this bad lie. And the way we're going to do it, certainly with this is one with a lot of bounce on. Now what we're trying to do is the exact opposite of using the bounce. We want to eliminate the bounce completely, so we're going to close the club face. Quite a lot actually, because there's still a fair amount of loft on this club even with the club face closed. And this shot, it's not going to kind of bounce out high with a lot of spin on it. It's really going to be kind of an ugly little low shot, which we're going to get out first. So you just want to get out the bunker and onto the green. But this ball should pop out about this high, even with this closed club face. So we're going to set up as usual. I would normally not open my feet too much, because generally speaking, when we open our feet, it opens the club face a bit more. We swing across it and we start to use this bounce even more. So for this one, we're going to square the shoulders and square the club face to the target a little bit more than usual. I would normally play it center to the back of my stance, because like I said, we're trying to dig down into and cut into the sand to throw it out. And then close our club face as much as we can. Okay, it feels a bit silly when you first try it, but you'll see the ball pop out quite nice when you do it. And it's not going to be a huge swipe at the ball. It's just going to be kind of, maybe I would hit it maybe 20% harder than what I normally would, because we've got a fair amount of sand to cut through first. But it will come out and you don't have to worry about it. Nice and square to the target, the club face is nice and closed, and we're going to do the normal bunker shot. Hit it about maybe an inch behind the ball. Here we go. And that popped out fine. Nothing to worry about there at all. And that was a pretty nasty kind of hard stood on ball. I'll do one more, so I'm going to just drop it in there and then stand on it. Now there's not a lot of loose sand around that. That is kind of into the hard wet sand there. So that is quite a nasty one. But that actually plays into our advantage, because like I said, the front end of that cup, which the ball is sat in, if we can get down in behind the ball with that closed club face, it's going to bounce off the front of that little cup it's sat in. It'll just pop it up in the air. No problem again, you don't have to worry whatsoever about this. Same thing again, we're just going to be fairly square to the target with our hips, our knees and our shoulders. I'm going to keep our club face closed, hood it, and we're just going to hit down into about an inch behind the ball and it'll just pop up in the air. Those really weren't too bad, to be honest. That's two quite nice shots there, and left myself with a couple of sort of nice uphill putts. Now I'm not saying that you have to get up and down with these. I would always first of all start looking at where my good miss is and where my bad miss is. Obviously if you've got a huge deep bunker face, maybe you can't come out forward, but more often than not you can kind of either find a way to the middle of the green Obviously the pin's going to be on the green, so as long as you're somewhere near the middle, you're not going to be that bad, and try and make up your putt. Hitting a high tariff plugged bunker shot is not the battle you want to take on. You know, it'd be nice. With that one, it was quite an easy shot. It wasn't too bad, as you can see. It's just kind of a little shallow bunker shot, but it was plugged pretty hard, and it popped out with a nice amount of control. It was no stress at all, no real worry, but it's keeping that club face closed. And even with that club face closed, can you see that both of those balls actually miss slightly to the right? You'll be amazed how closed you can have that club face and it still pop out quite nice. Obviously you're going to look at every situation differently. Sometimes you can't play the little chunking runner, which is what I did there. Sometimes you have to get it out some way or another and hit it a bit more of an explosive shot, but it's the same technique. It's the same closed club face. Don't use the bounce on the club, because that bounce will just absolutely kill this shot. You'll end up kind of hitting it halfway up the golf ball and it just will not come out. It'll be horrendous. You'll hit the lip and it'll be terrible. So work out your best exit strategy and just think, I'm just going to take one more extra shot. I'm going to take my punishment. I'll try and make a birdie somewhere else, or a par, depending on what level you are. So always don't just run in there trying to play the absolute miracle shot that you've seen on TV. Sometimes you can go for it if there's no trouble between you and the hole. Maybe the lip's particularly shallow and you just got to sort of chunk it out. Then you really can look at getting up and down. But anything more difficult than that, just try and look at your different strategies and think, I'm going to get down in 3 from this. So I'm going to get out, might even be onto the semi, and then chip up and hold the putt, or maybe chip to the centre of the green and 2 putt. You've always still got that chance of getting up and down. Thanks for watching, guys. If you've got any suggestions of any particular shots that you're struggling with, or how I would approach a certain shot, I'll be more than happy to help. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And write me a comment below. It'd be great to hear from you guys, and I'll see you next week.